I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. Babe Ruth hit his first one, heard around the world. Sherman marched with the Union and burned the arsenal. Old Market House still standing, but stands for freedom's will. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. My all-American city, Fayetteville. Talking about my hometown, Fayetteville.
I'd like to call the January 23rd Fayetteville City Council meeting to order. We thank everyone for being here tonight, and we ask that you stand for our invocation led tonight by Reverend Mark Rowden from Savannah Missionary Baptist, and then if you remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. God our Father, we thank you as we come and have assembled ourselves together on this night in this place. We pray now, Father, for our leaders and for the leadership of this city. And we pray particularly for our city council, our mayor, and their staff as they take on the everyday challenges to lead this city. We pray, God, that everything that is on the agenda tonight, God, will be done decent and in order. For you are a God of order, and you are not a God of confusion. And as we leave tonight, Father, we pray that the citizens will be better informed and know more about the business of this city. And I pray, God, that we will leave encouraged, knowing that we have been visited by you and that we have done your will. Father, this is my prayer. In your darling Son, Jesus the Christ's name, I do pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, council will begin with item number 4 tonight, approval of the agenda. Mr. Hurst?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the agenda, except with the exception of moving 7.1, which is consideration of moratorium on vehicular consent searches, prior to 6.0, which is public hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Mr. Bates. Any discussion? Let me ask for your vote on that motion, please. Mr. Bates? Thanks. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, council. Okay, we'll move now to item 5, which is tonight's consent agenda. Mr. Hare?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Yes, sir, Mayor and council, I would like to pull item 5.16, and let's bring that back to another meeting, please.
Okay, we'll take that as a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 5.16.
Yes,
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Discussion on that motion. Okay, let's have a vote, please. That's unanimous. We'll move now to item 5.16. This concerns a PwC financing team resolution. Is there someone here from PwC that could brief us on this? Mr. Miller's here. Thank you, sir. A few questions on item 5.16, Mr. Miller. Thank you for being with us tonight. If you
Okay.
could brief us on that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Would you, okay,
Yeah, brief first, please.
okay, thank you. PwC has always tried to look for innovative ways to save the ratepayers, taxpayers, the citizens of Fayetteville dollars. And if you remember, back a few years ago, we put together a major savings event with a prepaid power supply contract that saved the ratepayers almost $10 million. This was innovative. It had not been done before with a local municipal utility and an investor-owned utility. And therefore, you know, that is an example of some of the things that we do in trying to save money. When we issue bonds, there is a couple of areas. One is the interest rate that is pretty well set, but there is some negotiation involved. Once that's in place on fixed rate bonds, then that amount is set for the term of those bonds. The other place that we can save money is in the issuance cost. There is a number of players that can be involved in issuance cost, and traditionally we have issued bonds on a negotiated basis. We are attempting this time to issue bonds on a competitive basis. We'll be able to move forward with this with a minimal amount of local, a minimal amount of players basically when we issue bonds on a competitive basis rather than on a negotiated basis. Therefore, this reduces our cost of issuance when we do this. We have not, and a number of municipals in North Carolina has not issued bonds on this competitive basis. When we go this route, we can determine what the market is, what the market will be like, and if it is not favorable, we can go back to a negotiated sale of the bonds. With the attempt that we are going in this route, again, we're attempting to save the ratepayers, the taxpayers, the citizens of Fayetteville dollars by attempting this approach. And therefore, the financing team in this resolution that we have before you is setting in place the team to go forward with a negotiated sale, a competitive sale. The members of this financing team are those that is required by the LGC to make the bond issue. So in putting this together, all in mind of saving dollars for our customers, the ratepayers, and the citizens of Fayetteville. So we had asked you to approve this for a 5-year basis. If we put a team together on a 5-year basis, this adds continuity to the team as we're progressing along, the knowledge that is retained, and we did change some of these team members back in 2008, and that was when we had a bond issue. We reissued, refinanced our fixed rate, we issued or refunded the variable rate bonds into the fixed debt bonds then. So again, this is what we are attempting to do, is to put a stable team in place for the next 5 years with a 2-year option to renew.
Mr. Hare, do you have a question, sir?
Well, since we're going to be, we do have an opportunity to, I'm going to send some emails. We're going to discuss this again. You're going to bring it back to us. What my concern was is that as you went about changing the team and looking at the team on this item, we're getting rid of our local contractors, our local attorneys. We lose our minority participation, and as I was just stating, we lose our local person, in which the local attorneys and the local minority were both local. They were, within the city. So I just had an issue with that being one that's always thriving and trying to get everybody to the table, everybody to play a role in this. So that was been my number one concern.
Okay, we need to get a motion on the table for discuss, if we're going to discuss something. Did you have any additional questions for staff?
Motion to bring it to the, one of our work sessions
Okay,
with details.
have a motion to bring it to a work session. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Massey, seconded by Mr. Hare, Mr. Applewhite. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Bates?
Mr. Dwight, how much savings are you projecting if we swap this swap over? How much savings are you estimating?
The underwriting piece of it with a competitive sale, there, and Mr. Hare's, to answer a question that he had raised along with this, we do not need the Underwriters Council to be part of the financing team. And one of the local attorneys was with the Underwriters Council. So therefore, that piece would be eliminated in a competitive sale. We would look to save in excess of $100,000 when you look at the number of players that's involved in the closing. Also, there would be additional savings so far as the underwriting cost. And that is in the competitive piece of it, is with the underwriters, instead of negotiating with one underwriter, the number of underwriters will be coming to the table with their own attorneys to be, to look at the documents that we're placing out. And basically, we're selling securities when we are selling
now
the
with
bonds.
the 100,000 savings estimated, with the current package committee you have set now, could there be negotiations with them to lower their prices to come up with this savings so we can still keep it with local business?
Well, again, we would eliminate basically the Underwriters Council in this process. So then we have the city's bond council, which is Womble Carlisle. And we went through an RFP process in 2007 that brought the underwriters, the city's bond council into place. We also did an RFP for a trustee this time. I think I stated that in my letter to you and to the commissioners. The financial advisor was also put out for an RFP this time and was selected. So with the work that the city's bond council has done for us in the past years has been satisfactory. We're PwC staff and city staff is pleased with that work.
Okay, so
Okay,
could
the motion
there
on the
be
floor is just to take
negotiation
the
to
work
save
session.
money with the current council?
We can always talk to them as to their prices.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Chris?
I just had a wonder why we're exercising the trustee to be the Mellon Bank rather than using a North Carolina entity, but I'll hold my questions until the work session.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Applewhite?
So, well, I'll wait to the.
Okay, Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to know if a delay in waiting until the work session is going to significantly impact what you plan to do.
Mr. Massey, do you have a question, sir?
Yeah, the only thing I kind of caught my attention as you went through your explanation, Dwight, was going to be the attempt to arrive at a stable council team. Does that imply that there were some areas that there was not stability in the last time that we worked with these teams?
No, this would be going forward with this team. And traditionally, we would come up before you with the financing team 3 or 4 months prior to us issuing debt. We're trying to get out in front of this to alleviate any questions that may arise in regards to the financing team. And the continuity and the stability is going forward, that we would have 5 to 7 years, that we would not have to bring this question up again.
That was just the point, because we're not talking about making a decision that will last between 5 and 7 years, and this can impact negatively on particularly minority, and I don't want to use the word minority, I want to use whatever, everybody. You have good people in the overall process. I'll hold the rest of the questions until we get to the work session.
Okay, we have a motion to move it to the next available work session. That motion was made by Mr. Massey, seconded by Mr. Hare. Let me ask for your vote on that motion, please. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move now to item 7.1, which is consideration of a moratorium on vehicular consent searches. I think we have a brief report from the manager. Mr. Iman, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening.
Item 7.1 is a proposed moratorium on traffic stop consent searches for the Fayetteville Police Department. This item was brought forth at the January 3rd work session, and Council asked that we bring this back for the meeting tonight for consideration. The proposal is a 4-step proposal, whereby, first of all, a 120-day moratorium would be put into place, whereby during that time, consent searches, traffic stop consent searches would not be permissible in the city of Fayetteville by our department. It would involve, first of all, step 1, which would identify an organization external to the Fayetteville Police Department to review all traffic stops, policies, procedures, and standards of conduct. The second step would include complete purchase and installation of cameras into all patrol vehicles. To date, we have installed 126 cameras into police cruisers, and we have 53 yet to be completed. We're doing about 3 a day on average, so we expect to have all of our cruisers that are used for patrol purposes equipped with cameras by approximately March 1st. Step 3 would be to develop a reliable and valid police citizen contact data collection reporting system, and work is moving along very nicely on that action item as well. And step 4 would be to review, revise, and implement changes to the current citizen and employee complaint processes. That would be a part of the review, which is part of the scope of services provided by the consultant that would be selected. Now, during the time period since January 3rd, I have received and reviewed the credentials of several agencies that are qualified to prepare the type of study that the council is considering here this evening. And I'm prepared to hire a firm by the name of that goes by an acronym NOBLE, which stands for the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. The lead consultant for NOBLE, which would be on site as early as tomorrow, is Jimmy L. Wilson, who's Chief of Police, retired from the Washington, D.C. police force. Assisting him would be Assistant Chief Andrew Kennedy, a 30-year law enforcement veteran who's retired from the city of Greensboro, North Carolina, and Consultant David Scott, Deputy Chief of Police, who has 31 years as a law enforcement veteran. We think that they can complete their work, reviewing all the policies, have the written report, and schedule for a presentation before the City Council within about 45 days. The cost of that study is estimated at about $30,000, $25,000 fee with an additional $5,000 for travel, hotel accommodation, and other reimbursable expenses. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Crisp?
Who did you say the retired chief from Washington, D.C. is?
I did say chief, but it's actually deputy chief of police of the city of Washington, D.C. Jimmy L. Wilson.
Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
He was in Washington, D.C., and before that Suffolk, Virginia, and before that Jackson, Mississippi, and Canton, Mississippi, as chief of police.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can you speak to that first part, since it looks like we found an organization to come in, and thank you for making that happen, that we also wanted to make sure that included some opportunities for citizens, and we know there are a lot of varying opinions on the subject, but opportunities for people to have input in this process. How do you envision those working?
Yes, in order to get the proposal put together, we actually sent this organization a copy of the proposed moratorium and stressed the need for inclusiveness and citizen input throughout the process.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Hyman? Okay. Mr. Arp?
Hey, Mr. Hyman, I did have a question. First off, thank you for your hard work on this. That's good news about step two. 126 of the 179 cameras are installed with only 53 left and 1 March. That's good news for us. I noticed on the time frame, based on that, and then based on the 45 days, you believe at this point that you can accomplish all this within the 120 days that were established?
Well, obviously, the bulk of the work is going to be done by the consultant, and they've given us an estimate of 45 days from the conclusion of the site visit, which would fall into that 60-day time period that you just referenced. I think 60 to 75 days certainly looks to me that we would be complete all 4 of the steps that are outlined in the action plan. Probably closer to 60.
Okay, so 60 to 70 days from the day, or from the date of the site visit? I just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
Well, the proposal says 45 days from the date that they conclude the site visits. They will be have in our hands the written report, and then we'll follow that with a council presentation.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to time frame this out in my mind. 45 days from the conclusion of their site visit. The intent would be to do the site visit as quickly as possible.
They're going to be here tomorrow. If the council votes in the affirmative this evening, they'll begin the engagement tomorrow afternoon.
And the estimated time to do their site visit?
Don't have that specifically. It's less than a week.
Less than a week.
Yes.
Any other questions? Let's see, Ms. Applewhite, then Mr. Bates, I believe.
I did. Mr. Hyman, you mentioned $30,000. Is that for the initial site visit, or does that include any follow-on engagements with the community? Is this a total cost, or?
That would be for the scope of services outlined in developing the study, reviewing all policies, procedures, interviewing officers, talking to the public, talking to council members. If the recommendations come back that X, Y, or Z was determined and we need training, for example, to accomplish that, that would be an additional charge.
Okay, so we'll just have to figure it out as we go along based on the results of their initial meeting.
The study will kind of develop the menu for the future.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bates?
Mr. Hyman, what you just said, that last sentence or two about what the consultants are going to do, review the policies, procedures. Can you repeat that? If you sound like you had it written down, you spit it out pretty nice.
Yep.
Okay, now is that what the police
I'll
department?
do better. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
The study will focus on traffic stop policies and procedures, compliance with the accreditation process, training needs, compliance with CALEA mandates and corrective actions, all data collected to determine whether bias-based policing has occurred, whether possible patterns indicative of bias-based policing are department-wide or confined to individual officers, and other issues as specified by the City of Fayetteville at the time of the agreement. And that included the public input, the discussions, and those things.
All right, thank you. And is that pretty much what the police department went through to be accredited? Everything's been reviewed and double-checked and triple-checked by outside agencies?
A lot of this was done as a part of the accreditation process.
And
Yes, sir.
Were we accredited?
Yes, we were.
Thank you, sir.
Is that it, sir? Mr. Hare?
Thank you, Mayor. Dale, when you spoke about the input with the public, explain, is it community watch, leaders? I mean, how are we actually getting to the public?
Yes, we discussed those things. I know we discussed the local leadership of the NAACP, the community watch leaders is one group that was mentioned specifically, the mayor and city council, other community leaders in general, public representatives, just a broad cross-cut of the population of the city.
And is it through, well, I was wondering just about the means of contact of getting out there to them. Are we going to do or are they going to do some form of radio? Is it through the news? I mean, how are we going to actually make those contacts with the people?
No, they'll make personal contacts. These will be personal interviews. I would envision they don't go into that level of specificity, but you typically don't. You hire somebody to do a job. You don't try and tell them how you want to do it.
Right. And I appreciate that, but that public contact is very important. Thank you, sir.
And possibly if this were to pass tonight and we can just have continued updates like at our meetings at the work session, the staff can brief us on those developing plans as they emerge after the crowd is under contract. Mr. Fowler, do you have some questions, sir?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hyman, do you know how many other police organizations this group has worked with? Did they mention that at anything?
They were established. I'm working with so many organizations now between this and the chief search.
Understand.
I don't want to run numbers together. This is their proposal, and it doesn't talk about that, but somewhere in the background information, they talk about when Noble was created, and they've been around a number of years, but I don't want to throw a date at
1976.
76, thank you. It was either 76 or 96, and I wasn't sure. So they've been around since 76. They've done a number of studies on racially biased policing. They've worked with a number of organizations. I can't tell you exactly how many at this time.
Okay, I was just wondering, and have they done that with organizations that have been accredited?
I'm sure they have, yes,
Right.
based on the information that's presented.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
The only thing I wanted to be sure of that we, in the process of dealing with public input, that we make sure that we get input from Methodist College, Fayetteville State, and FTCC, that they be included in that list.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Chris? Did you have one, sir?
I didn't, are you caveating to say they have to talk to Fayetteville State, Mr. Massey? Was that?
No, I would just like for them to include input from those institutions, especially those that have criminal justice programs and things of that nature. So we get a cross-section, cross-view, that's all. So it wasn't saying that they must, it was just asking if they could include those.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it, Mr. Hyman. Stand by, sir. Okay, we have a motion here.
Yes, sir. The recommendation that we have tonight, based on the staff's input, is we can adopt the moratorium, do not adopt the moratorium, or provide staff alternate and/or additional guidance, and I'm going to choose the latter based on the information we have tonight. I'd like to make a motion that we implement a moratorium on the use of consent searches for a period of 120 days or until completion of the identified and specific task, with a final presentation of the findings at a public meeting of the City Council, whichever occurs first, with ongoing in-progress reviews at work sessions during this period.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Davy and then Ms. Applewhite.
I just want to clarify that the moratorium is for traffic stops only.
That is correct.
Okay, Ms. Applewhite, is that it, Ms. Davy?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Applewhite?
Yes, I do have a question for staff, if I could.
Sure.
Ms. Bradley, Ms. Patricia Bradley, please. For those of you who don't know Ms. Bradley, she is the attorney for the police department. Ms. Bradley, if you could, there's been a lot of discussions about whether or not the city of Fayetteville is legally able to implement a moratorium on consent searches. And if you could, you don't mind sharing your opinion on that, your legal opinion on that.
Yes, ma'am. There are several opinions out there, and there are differing opinions. I think we all agree with regards to consent searches. We all agree that it is a matter that should be addressed. It's a matter that polarizes our community, the state, and the country as a whole. However, it is my opinion that is an issue that should be addressed by the state legislatures or the courts and not our local government.
Okay. Are there any other law enforcement or legal organizations that also support that basic opinion?
We have opinions from the Sheriff's Association, from approximately 6 different attorneys who have rendered opinions that say that council should not act on this, and there are equally opinions that council should, or at least 2 or 3.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am. Chief Bergemine, please. So a lot of the discussion is in terms of our authority to implement a moratorium on consent searches has been focused on whether or not we are legally authorized to do that. As Ms. Bradley said, there are differing opinions on that. If I could, I asked you the last time if you had the opportunity to give your position on that. Can you tell me if we are found to be illegally able to, or we're not able to implement moratoriums, what is the impact to the police department in terms of the certification, perhaps your personal certification, and the certification of police officers?
Well, I believe it was deemed illegal by the courts.
Yes, sir.
That, if it was deemed illegal by the courts, that of course I would lose my certification, and those that would obey that order would probably lose theirs.
What does losing?
That's my opinion.
What does losing certification mean?
That means that we're disobeying the law. We can't do that.
So does that mean you can't do your police duties, or what?
That's what that would mean. That we would be in violation of law.
If I could, thank you, Chief. Ms. McDonald, you are the lead attorney for the city. Could I please ask your legal opinion on whether or not the city council is legally able to implement a moratorium on consent searches for the city?
Ms. Applewhite, as I have shared with the council before, it is my legal opinion. My legal opinion is based on my 15 years of experience as a local government attorney and almost 10 years representing this city as the city attorney. I recognize that there are different legal opinions, and I have certainly shared those with council. Those opinions that Ms. Bradley alluded to, who I might add is a junior associate in my office, as well as the 6 attorneys that she refers to, all represent either police associations have some relationship as criminal attorneys, and I am not aware of any attorneys that have stood up and said that the police department cannot do this who specialize in municipal law.
Representative Glazier. Representative Glazier sought the opinion of the state legislature, their research department. Can you tell me articulate what their position was, not Ms. Bradley's position, but the state legislature's research department's position that Rick Glazier offered to us?
I solicited through Representative Glazier an opinion from the research staff for the General Assembly. The General Assembly research staff attorney's position was that it was contrary to state law. However, consent searches are permissive. They are not required, and therefore that is where our opinions differ as to our ability to allow the council to impose a moratorium.
But the research department, their opinion, and they're not associated with the police association, their opinion was that we did not have the authority to do it?
I'm sorry?
The research department is not a
Sure,
part of...
sure. I was referring to the 6 attorneys that Ms. Bradley referred to.
Okay, so I just have one last question for you. If we move forward with a moratorium on consent searches, do you believe that the city of Fayetteville could be potentially liable for a criminal case be brought against the city of Fayetteville if we implement the moratorium? No doubt that you would be able to defend us well if we were, but do you think that a vote on a moratorium on consent searches could possibly lead us to a criminal lawsuit, criminal investigation, the city of Fayetteville?
Certainly there is a possibility of some type of lawsuit.
Thank you.
Mr. Bates?
You too?
No, I'm good, sir.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir, there was.
Here.
Mr. Art, you need to put an effective date on the motion. If you didn't, I didn't know.
No, thank you. Good point. The date would remain effective 1 February, or the date of the initiation of the site survey.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir, I'd like to ask the chief a question, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Chief. You said that if the police did not do consent searches under discretion of the city council saying we wanted a moratorium, and that was found to be improper at the time by a higher authority saying that we did not have this, that you would risk decertification because you would be not following the law. Is that what I heard?
What I said was if that was in fact a violation of law due to the different opinions, that should we do that, and it was found to be a violation of law, we on the Fayetteville Police Department would be obeying an unlawful order that was not allowed by state law.
Okay. Currently, the police have the discretionary authority to ask for a consent search. Is that correct?
Yes.
If they do not ask for a consent search, are they in violation of the law?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Is that it, Mr. Fowler? Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chris.
Ms. McDonald, from there, I read the state statute, but I just want to clarify. I don't think it says consent searches will be conducted, must be conducted. I think it infers that consent searches may be conducted. Am I correct? Then the word may leads us to options, does it not? That the police officer has the option of conducting a consent search or not conducting one. Am I correct in my analogy?
That is correct, Mr.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Art, let me ask you to restate that motion, please, sir.
Be happy to. The motion is to implement a moratorium effective 1 February 2012 or upon initiation of the site visit on the use of consent searches for a period of 120 days or until completion of the identified and specific task with a final presentation of the findings at a public meeting of the City Council, whichever occurs first.
Thank you.
Can I say something real quick, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, and I need to say something, so you go.
Okay. Well, first off, I just want to make it clear from my perspective, I'm very supportive of our police department. I want to thank Chief Bergamine and his department. I had a chance to go out and ride with the police Friday night. I spent 6 hours on the road with a patrolman. It was a very enlightening experience, and I have great respect and admiration for all the young men and women who wear a badge and protect us every day. And so with that said, that's why I think it's just imperative that to any degree that we can stress the professionalism that these young folks perform in their duty. We need to guard that, and I hope that what I have proposed tonight will do that.
And I think we all echo the Mayor Pro Tem's sentiment there. And this issue, I would argue, is not about a moratorium. It's about accountability and transparency. And in fact, we are all accountable to someone, and that includes the police department and includes the city council. And when an issue continues to grow and divide our community, and it remains unaddressed by staff, as this one has for over a year now, then the council does have the final responsibility to step in and consider a change in policy. In fact, we did that before. In January 2010, this city council voted 9-1 to change a police department's policy on the treatment of sexual assaults in our community, only after a lot of careful consideration. We can't let the debate on legal authority become yet another red herring that joins the list of did the mayor pro tem have the right to approach the manager? Should we have gone to a work session first? Who was in the meeting? What color were they? Who wasn't there? What did they know? When didn't they know? Did the staff have enough time? A moratorium's not legal. We didn't have another public hearing, and now tonight we might lose our certification. We can't allow that to continue to just be another red herring in this community. There have been few decisions that have come to this council that don't involve competing legal opinions. It is the nature of the job that we do. And we listen to all sides, and ultimately the 10 of us who are most directly accountable to the 208,000 people who live in this city, we're charged with making that decision. I personally don't mind being a legal test case if we're a legal test case for what is right.
Amen.
And I would ask you this each before you vote tonight. If we're willing to risk differing legal opinions when we make decisions, policy decisions, on vinyl windows or on Loopy the pig, then surely we're willing to support a decision to ensure that the rights of every citizen in Fayetteville, North Carolina are protected.
You're here, sir. You're here.
Ms. Applewhite.
Oh, no further comments, Mayor.
All right, ma'am, thank you. Let me ask for your vote, please.
Let's vote. Let's vote.
That motion carries. Those in favor, Mr. Chris, Mr. Hurst, Mr. Schiavone, Mr. Art, Ms. Davy, Mr. Hare, Mr. Massey, and Mr. Fowler. In opposition, Mr. Bates and Ms. Applewhite. Thank you, council. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Everybody who doesn't have a seat, will you please leave? Please take a seat.
Okay, we're going to reconvene our meeting and begin with item 6.1, which is our tonight's first public hearing. And let me give you the rules for the public hearing before we begin these tonight. First of all, each side will have a total of 15 minutes to present your position, whether you're for or against. Individual speakers will have one time to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes each unless by a previous arrangement a single spokesman is designated, in which case the spokesman may use the entire 15 minutes. When you hear the beep and see the light located on the podium change from green to yellow, that means there's approximately 30 seconds left of the 3 minutes. And when you hear the beep, see the timer located on the podium blink and change from yellow to red, that means the full 3 minutes has expired. We ask that when you come to the podium, state your name and address loudly so we can make note of it for the record. We'll begin with item 6.1. Mr. Herman's here for P1169F. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. First case we have, again, is P1169F. This is for application for a special use permit in the Hospital Overlay District. Property is located at 3410 Village Drive. An approximate size is 0.47 acres, just under a half acre. You can see here on the map where the property is located. You've got the hospital complex here behind the property. You've got Village Drive to the south in front of the property. Here's this conover. There's a stoplight here. And then as you go just off the screen, you've got Owen Drive. The current land use in the area, the blue area being that used by the hospital mainly or other doctor facilities, yellow being residential uses. The 2010 plan does call for this property to be used as office use, as does the new hospital overlay district. And you'll recall about a year ago or so, we had this property came in for a rezoning. It is now zoned O&I. The developer, Dr. Leakey, has gone through the process of first getting the property rezoned, secondly going through the TRC to get approval there, and now he's coming for his last step of the special use permit, which, just as a reminder, now in the hospital overlay district, if you're within 100 feet of a residential zoning district, then you have to come in for a special use permit, and that's why we're here tonight. Just real quickly, I'll show you the site plan for this. Let's see. Hopefully that got changed over to y'all. I'm not sure.
It did. It's fine.
Okay. As you can see on the site plan here, you've got this being Village Drive here. This is the proposed new office building here. All the parking in the rear of the building as required by the new hospital overlay. We've got a 6-foot tall wood fence that runs along both property lines to the east and west, and along with the shrubbery and vegetated buffer on the inside of the fence. And then you can also see the other plantings there as well, along with trees along Village Drive and more shrubs and plantings. The Zoning Commission and staff have recommended approval of the special use district or permit district based on the proposal does meet the building requirements of the hospital overlay district, and it is adjacent to properties that are one property that's owned already by the hospital and another that is owned that is still residential. But like I said, the hospital overlay zone as you can see here, in this dotted line actually comes all the way across Village and Two Deep over on the south side. So this is not only backs up to the hospital complex, but is well within the new overlay district. Are there any questions of staff on this?
We have a couple, sir. Mr. Arp and then Mr. Bates.
Sir, I decline. I must have done that.
Okay, Mr. Bates?
Mr. Harmon, can you go to the site plan? We didn't have that in our packet, and there was one thing in there that I wanted to ask you on. I think it said Vinca Major.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that?
Right by that.
It says VINCA Major.
Vinga Major.
That's a plant. It's a flowering plant. You have Vinca minor and Vinca major.
They don't grow on the north side of town.
Yeah, that's right. The southern Fayetteville.
Must be a southern plant then,
Yeah.
huh? Okay.
It's a southern thing, right?
What is
Any,
that thing in
any other questions?
Yes, sir. What is that right in the middle of the parking lot?
Retention pond.
Right in the middle is actually a bioretention area. Instead of having a detention pond on the property, this is a bioretention area which would have plantings and things of that nature in it, but the actual drainage from the parking lot would go into that, and the plants and stuff help filter out anything that's in it before it actually is released back into the creeks or streams.
Now, obviously, this is not to scale. So those cars parked to the right of Vinga Major, they're going to be able to get out with that thing there? Or is that going to be an impediment?
No, sir. There's a minimum aisle width that they have to meet, and they are.
So this is not even close to scale, right?
It should be at scale. It may,
Most people don't drive big old cars.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, staff. We'll open the public hearing, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we have no speakers for this item.
Okay, close the public hearing. Are there any additional questions? Mr. Hurst?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the special use permit for this property at 3410 Village Drive with the conditions that's illustrated in the site plan and described by staff.
Second.
All right, have a motion and an appropriate second. I think Mr. Fowler, Mr. Massey, who got that? Mr. Fowler got that one, I think. Any discussion on the motion? Let me ask you a vote, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. We'll move now to item 6.2, P1162F, Country Club Drive.
The next case we have is property located at 669 Country Club Drive. It's approximately 0.96 acres, just under an acre. And the request is to go from an SF10 to an NC Neighborhood Commercial District. You can see here on the aerial photo where the property is located. You've got Country Club Drive here and Rose Hill Road here. There's a Food Line shopping center across the road and a bank beside of the property, along with part of the south side of the property also has an office building. Everything to the east of the property is residential in nature. And you can see that here on our current land use, all the red areas being commercial, with the yellow areas being residential. The 2010, or the land use plan, has called for the commercial activity that you've seen on the other two maps, along with that office use that you saw on the first map, and then the low-density residential here and a medium-density residential in the back. The Zoning Commission recommended approval of the Office and Institutional District, which is a more restrictive district than what was asked for by the applicant. And that was based on proximity to other commercial and office zoning and uses, the amount of commercial already in the area, and the location along the intersection of two major thoroughfares. At the Zoning Commission meeting, the staff had recommended denial of the neighborhood commercial district based on the land use plan calling for residential, the amount of commercial already at that intersection, that the property is bordered on two of the four sides by some residential, and traffic volume and turning movements in and out of the property. Are there any questions of staff on this case at this time?
Mr. Bates?
Mr. Harmon, have they addressed the ingress and ingress from Country Club besides just pulling in regular driveway?
Yeah, at this point, that's what would have to happen because this is not a conditional zoning, and that's really the only other option. I mean, they may have some other options, but it's not part of, would not basically be part of this proposal. They have a current use there, and they're looking to just continue that at the moment. Now, in the future, if that use changes, then some of that ingress and egress could change as well. But at this time, there's no, and you could ask the applicant, I believe they're signed up, to speak as well. But just remember, it's not a conditional rezoning, so their road frontage is that frontage along Country Club. Just keep that in mind.
That's it, sir. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk will open the public hearing, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Our first speaker, our only speaker for this item speaking in favour is Ms. Paula Quick Hall.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. I've provided a letter. When we met with the Zoning Commission, we asked that the application be considered only for office and institutional, accepting the recommendation that would accommodate the uses that we'd like to make for the space. Our plan is to, at the moment, we've made the renovations that allow us to use this as an assembly space, and within the present zoning, that allows us to have a church or religious organization use the space. The Unitarian Universalist congregation of Fayetteville has made that their home, so that there are Sunday services and religious education programs, maybe one night a week, board meeting. And so we want to be able to rent to nonprofit organizations, other groups that might want to have a business meeting or a seminar, training, that kind of thing, religious, cultural, educational programs that could be accommodated in the space. I'm sorry, I forgot I had, oh, thank you. Oh, before,
Let's see.
there it is, thank you. You told me F5. Okay, so we named the space the Melker Quick Meeting House, and this is to honor the ancestors. I have the Melker ancestors who came to Fayetteville in around 1890. My great-grandfather, Dr. P.N. Melker, and his son, Dr. Warren Melker, and then my father, C. Mason Quick, was also a medical doctor, and he was married to my mother, Beulah Melker. And so most of the homes that they lived in for all that time have been abolished. They were on Moore Street. And this is the last of the homes that the family has lived in. And so part of my goal is to create a cultural, educational space that makes a contribution to the community and honors the ancestors. And so what we've done in thinking about the vision is to consider things that aren't already, we're not trying to be in competition with existing businesses in any major way, but to provide something that isn't already in the neighborhood. And these are just some of the ways that we'd like to see it used. There are a couple of nonprofit organizations who could use the space just for their files and board meetings, occasional things. These are not large organizations, so the cost of having a regular full-time office makes this an attractive alternative. This is the front of the house, and we made some changes to the front to make it wheelchair accessible. That's the inside, looking out to the front door. Let's see. The actual, the fire inspector said that the capacity was 75 people, I think. But when we lay out chairs, we know that in the meeting rooms, the real number that we could accommodate is more like 40 people. And for the kinds of uses that we expect, there wouldn't even usually be that many people because there wouldn't be things going on in all the rooms concurrently. We envision possibly workshops with small group sessions. So these are just some pictures of various configurations. This is how the room looks on a Sunday, often when the Unitarian Universalist congregation is having services. And Dr. John Maddox, who's president of the board, is here, and the board has written a letter of support for our application as well. This is a view down the hall to where the breakout rooms would be. And this is one of the rooms that we use for small discussion groups or training kinds of things. The bathrooms, men and women's restrooms, are wheelchair accessible, and that was just to show that. And I know that the parking and the traffic was a major concern. So this is a parking space that is accessible. It's right by the garage. This is a view from the house toward the bank. Carter Bank has given us permission to use their parking space when the bank is not open, but the lot extends to their border, to their parking lot. And so our intention is, if we're granted the rezoning, to spend the money to make that lot gravel. Right now, it's cars parked there. It's not usually muddy, and so that allows us to accommodate about 22 cars. This is a view from, if you were on Country Club Drive looking back, and the building that is seen here is the office building, Rose Hill Office Suites, which my mother and I own. And so we've cleared the space so that cars can go from the lot that we're talking about now to the back of the office building and exit to Rose Hill Road. And we would do more substantial surfacing if we were able to generate some income to accommodate that. But right now, what we're doing is pine straw. I'm just packing that. And this is where we've also cleared it so that cars that come in front of the house could come into the parking area between the close to the bank and to get to Rose Hill without going into Country Club Drive. If you are coming out of the driveway, looking to your left, this is what you would see, and we've cleared that area and covered it with pine straw so that a car that comes into the driveway, lets somebody out at the door, and then wants to go into the parking area can do so without going back into the street as well. And that's the sign and the Unitarian Universalist Church symbol. We have letters of support from all of the neighbors. The next door neighbor, Gail Douglas Faggett, and her brother owns the vacant lot next to her house. Dr. McDougall owns the house next to the vacant lot, and Mr. Byron Jones and his wife own the house that is the last one in the block, and that one is next to a church. And they've all provided letters of support. And the clerk has the originals of those letters. And so those are here. This is a letter from Carter Bank, the vice president, giving us permission to use their lot for parking. And this was a letter that I didn't mention before, but when we went to the zoning commission, Kathy Michael Tomasic gave us a letter just saying how she would use the space if it were available. She provides services for adults with developmental disabilities, and that was part of the original packet that we gave to the zoning commission. And I think that's all. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Quick. We appreciate you coming tonight, ma'am.
Oh, I forgot to give my name and address when I came up. I'm sorry. I live in Durham, North Carolina, at 3104 Buckingham Road. I teach at North Carolina Central University, and I've lived there since 2007. My mother, who has lived here forever, she's 90 years old, and she lives at Heritage Place on Cool Spring Street. And wants to stay in Fayetteville, and so I'm trying to accommodate her. The other request she had was that we make use of the house in a way that she can still be there, and so she goes sometimes to the services or other things that we do at the house.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We'll close the public hearing and entertain any questions. Mr. Bates, you have a question, sir? Mr. Chris?
Doctor, come back, please. I guess my greatest concern is entrance and exit off Country Club. And as I look at the configuration of that lot, is there an alternative?
Well, at this point, there isn't. I mean, actually, if you can go into the office parking lot and enter the property from Rose Hill Road, but we don't have it paved or, it's not an official driveway. But that's what we would like to do. I wanted to do that when my mother was living there because I didn't think it was that good for her to be going in and out of the driveway, but we own, and also if I could show the map that you had. Thank you. That's good. Thanks. The land that is here, we own this land also. And if we had the money to do so, we're not generating a lot of money. We've just been paying taxes on the land and not doing anything. I wanted to see the church grow and be able to use some of it. But if we were permitted to, we could provide access from Rose Hill Road. But that would be another conversation, I guess. But we are able to use the existing driveway. It goes around the building, around the office. Well, here it is. So you go in this way and you drive around the office building, so there are two entrances there. And so you can go into the parking lot here and into the circle.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Massey?
Motion to approve the request.
Let me make sure if there are any other questions, sir. Anybody else have any additional questions? Okay, Mr. Matt. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you being here. Go ahead, Mr. Massey.
Did someone have a motion to approve the request?
Okay. And that's the OI district, sir? Okay.
Right.
And that was seconded by Mr. Hare, is that right? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Chris and then Mr. Arp.
Looking at our agenda, it appears on the surface that the doctor asked for neighborhood commercial district. Are you willing to accept organizational, institutional, doctor?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, let's ask for your vote, please. You were voting, weren't you? Okay. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Okay, item 6.3, Community Development Annual Action Plan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This item tonight is for a public hearing for a substantial amendment to our current annual action plan for the use of community development block grant funds for a neighborhood resource center. The city of Fayetteville has committed $937,500 for the Hope 6 revitalization project funding community development block grant funds. Currently in our annual action plan and the previous ones, we've dedicated those funds for the use of acquiring land for single-family housing. Since that time, we were approached by the Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority to change the use of those funds to assist with the construction of a neighborhood resource center, which is also part of the Hope 6 revitalization project. We currently have budgeted $749,000 for that portion of the Hope 6 commitment, which would leave a remaining amount of $188,500 to complete that commitment. So tonight's request is to amend our current action plan for the construction of a neighborhood resource center, or utilizing those funds as such. Attaching your agenda is a resolution authorizing or approving that action. No, open for any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bates?
Mr. Sharp, the agenda says that the city has approved and budgeted $749,000 as part of the funding for the acquisition of land for single-family housing.
Correct.
And then the next one says Fayetteville Metropolitan FMHA has requested to use the current budget amount of $749,000 for the construction of the neighborhood resource center. Now, did we already approve that money to buy the land, or $749,000? I mean, I just don't understand those two bullets in there. One says we have the money, and one says it's already been budgeted for something else.
Right. What I'm saying is, we currently have in our budget $749,000 that has been set aside. The original intent was to acquire land that will be used for single-family housing. That action has not taken place. What has basically happened is that the total number of houses that they had expected to build as part of the 5-year construction plan, they're going to build several houses less, and so they won't need that amount for the construction of the to acquire additional lots. And so with that, they have asked that they be able to use the money for the construction of a neighborhood resource center. One of the things that this will allow them to do is to use other funds that they have to construct the daycare center that will be constructed next to the Walker Spivey School.
Okay. Maybe somebody up here can explain that to me, because that just keeps going over my head.
The money was budgeted for one purpose,
Mhm.
and because the plan of Hope 6 has changed as we've
Okay.
gotten into it, they won't be building as many houses as they thought. Didn't have anything to do with that, just happened. So the monies are available, and now they would like to reallocate the money that's been budgeted for this enrichment center.
Because all of the 749K is not going to be used for housing, Mr. Mayor,
For land acquisition.
land acquisition.
Right, and the additional $188,500 will be used though for acquisition of land that will be used towards.
Just kind of modifying the
Okay.
plan. You know, we got in Hope 6 early, and we had a plan for how we'd spend it, and now that we've gotten into it, some of that's changed, and we're just trying to move the money around to accommodate other needs.
So just to make sure, so out of the funds that we allocated, we only need the $188,000 to purchase the land that was agreed upon on the Hope 6.
Right, that is correct. And there are
the
some other.
749 is surplus we can use for.
It still needs to be for Hope, it still needs to be for the project, though, just to
Right,
have to be
under
for
Hope
land
6, but a
acquisition.
different, okay, I got you. I'm
But
good.
I will add, there are other actions that we're working with the Housing Authority on to perhaps swap some land that we have to allow for additional building lots for the single-family housing as well.
So how much is the resource center estimate?
To build that, I would say a little over $2 million in total is the estimate. They haven't bidded that out, so it would depend on what those bids come in at.
Ms. Davy?
And wasn't the Resource Center a part of our requirement to receive the Hope 6 grant?
It was an item that was part of the application.
Yeah.
And if you recall, there was a neighborhood resource center that was at Campbell Terrace that was demolished along with the housing, and so it's being rebuilt here.
All right, sir.
As a result.
We'll do the public hearing if you'll stand by in case there are
Okay.
any additional questions.
Thank you.
Ms. McGill?
Mr. Mayor, we have no speakers for this item.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and entertain any additional questions from council. If not, Ms. Davy?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the substantial amendment for the Hope 6 project.
All right, have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Any discussion on the motion? Ask for your vote, please. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 6.4 is consideration of UDO text amendment set number 4. Ms. Hilton, we're on a roll now.
Okay.
If you catch my drift.
Gotcha. Roll, Will.
And that's it.
We're on a roll.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Let me go ahead and move through these fairly quickly. This is a continuing set. Some of them are fairly substantive. Initially, we advertised a set that affected the downtown. As we've noted earlier, we do recommend that you defer that first portion, remove it from the ordinance, so that it can be considered and discussed along with other downtown actions. The other major portions involve a proposal for an alternative signage plan. They change, recommendation to change accessory structures, particularly the heights, and then a few other minor adjustments and clarifications. So skipping the downtown, the alternative sign plan is a new section that we're proposing. It would be targeted to large developments of at least 10 acres. It would allow a single integrated sign plan that addresses a variety of sign types. And I'll show you a few examples in a moment. It would involve a planning commission hearing that could be done with conditions so that we could work with the very specific characteristics of the proposed development. An example of an alternative sign plan might be something that comes in with a list, just 2 examples at the top, that describe what kind of sign is needed, specifically where it would go, how many there would be, and an example of what it would look like. Down below, you can see some examples. Temporary signs are very limited. There are certain needs in some developments, such as valet parking, where you pull a temporary sign out occasionally. A plan could make specific arrangement for situations like that. Different types of sort of sub-areas within a business park might call for different street signs or identification. A variety of different directional signs, but it allows for the creativity and unique characteristics of a very large development that's got a coordinated package. The other more substantive amendments, the first one is accessory building heights, and this is really in all districts. In the light industrial and the heavy industrial, we propose that that standard actually be deleted. Accessory buildings have to be at least 50 feet from a residential district or use anyway, and at that point 25, 15 feet, 30 feet is relatively negligible impact. In the residential districts, right now the standard says when you are adjacent to another residential use or residential district, you have to be 15 feet or less. And that is extremely restrictive when you're also encouraging them to design toward the characteristics of the adjacent property. If you put a peak roof on, 14, 15 feet doesn't make it. What we propose for both that and the other non-residential districts is that with an increased setback, you can go up to the 25 feet. In the junk and salvage yard standards, we are putting back in a piece that was part of the original proposal, and this part deals with the junk or salvage yards that are authorized in a district that seek that approval. And this just establishes two simple standards for it about the stacking height within the storage area and the maximum total number of cars stacked, crushed within the salvage yard. These were part of the original approval process and had gotten omitted in the translation between the old ordinance and the new one. And finally, I'll show you an example of what we're talking about in the use category. You may recall there is a use table, and in the star you can see beside professional services, nowhere in that list of business services, financial, professional, do you see mentioned a contractor's office. However, when you go to a description of that, contractors' offices are permitted as long as they don't have the outside storage within the office district. When you go to the industrial area, you do see the contractor's offices listed, which created a lot of confusion. So what we are proposing is that we add the distinctive phrasing "with outside storage" is what goes in the industrial area. To the right, you see 4 arrows. Those are all referencing the same section, and they're about uses: electrical, motor repair, machine shop, repair of instruments, tool repair. The standards call for screening of, actually they say it has to occur in an enclosed building. When a property is within the light industrial or the heavy industrial, that to us is logically where we would allow the outside storage. And so what we're proposing is that change, and I'll back up to the other table, in any authorized district other than light industrial or heavy industrial, the repair and other activity occurs within an enclosed building. And so you can see, take for an example down towards the bottom, research, tool repair. It's an allowed use in some of the commercial districts as well as the industrial districts. When it happens in the non-industrial districts, it has to stay enclosed. Once it gets into the industrial districts, it's fine with outside storage. And then a few of the other changes, we're actually synchronizing some of the diagrams with some of the changes we've approved in earlier amendments. Very minor corrections in language and references there. At the request of Downtown Alliance and other members in the downtown area, we're recommending that the first part that was advertised about downtown parking, glazing standards, and one other item, that those be deferred from this action tonight, carried forward to a date certain. That way we don't, at this point, we wouldn't re-advertise the hearing. We'd carry it to your regular meeting in February. And then consider the remainder of the items as we've presented tonight. And then you do have other options as well, but the staff and the Planning Commission do recommend approval of the items before you tonight. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Hilton? Stand by, ma'am. We'll open the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, we have no speakers for this item.
We'll close the public hearing. Entertain any questions for Ms. Hilton at this time. Mr. Hurst?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve as recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Is there a second to Mr. Hurst? Second. Thank you, Mr. Bates. Any discussion on the motion? May I ask for your vote there, please? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Hilton. We appreciate that. Okay, we'll now move to item 7.2, which is our quarterly update, I believe, from Mr. Peters and the Fayetteville Cumberland County Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, I understand. Good to see you. Thank you. Is it that obvious? I'm struggling over there. The first thing that I want to share with you is a flyer that I'm sending around. Your local chamber has partnered with the United States Chamber of Commerce, the Department of Labor, Veterans Employment Group, as well as NBC News and some other folks to host a job fair for veterans. It'll be held here at the Crown on February the 10th. And if you know of veterans that are interested in participating or seeking work, local companies will be there looking for employees, specifically veteran employees, and the North Carolina Society of Human Resource Managers will be providing a workshop ahead of time for folks to be able to brush up on their interview skills and what have you. So please take a look at that, and if you can help us get the word out, we would appreciate it. Let me see here. Okay. This is the year-to-date fiscal year 2011-2012 economic development update. What you have here is, I'm sorry, let me back up. A list of our priorities at the Chamber, and what you'll see is that we have integrated the interests of the city of Fayetteville into the 5 priorities. A lot of this came from Greater Fayetteville Futures. A lot of it has come from the work that we have done to try to identify market demands, market opportunities, and to try to plug into those appropriately. So, and I shared these with you before, so I won't spend a lot of time going through those, but they are there for your review. Next is a listing of our economic development team. I'm a part of that. Mr. Doug Bird, who is with me tonight, has just been named interim economic development director. Doug will perform those duties until we finish a process that we've undertaken with Garner Economics to help us to craft an economic development plan for the community that we can assist in helping to get implemented. Then we also have Kathy Johnson, who's been on our team for about 20 years, close to 20 years. She's responsible for existing industry and making sure that we're taking care of the companies that are already invested here. And then Amber Quinn is our research manager, and she's the person who provides us a lot of data that we need on a very short time frame for our clients. Let me take you to the next page here. You can see where we are year to date. Capital investment, our annual target is $116 million. Our year to date is $64,080,000. And I'll go back and I'll share with you where these rolling averages came from. Job creation is at 847. That's our annual target. We're at 131 for the year. And I'll explain to you why we believe that number is lagging where we were this time last year. Retention visits at 75 for the year. We have completed 60. Client contact prospects, we said that we would reach out to 150 companies and site selection consultants this year. So far, year to date, we've talked with 93 selling Fayetteville and the community. And then media placement, those are national media placements. We have redirected some of the funds that we had allocated for media placement to the Garner Economic Development Planning process because we are on a limited budget. And so we have scaled back a little bit, but we have leveraged what we have already spent. So you're beginning to see a whole lot more in the area of internet, a whole lot more in our website presence and what have you. Let me back up and tell you where the rolling averages came from. We sat with the staff as well as folks at the county and talked about how do we come up with a realistic projection on our measurables. So what we've done is we've taken the last 3 years' performance. We've taken out some of the things that some of the community did not want us to include, and specifically DuPont $55 million expansion in 2009 was one of those. That has been taken out because we were told not to count that. There was also a couple of other things that we were questioned about our involvement in those. So in 2008, 2009, the total investment in the community that we tracked was $64 million, and there were 658 jobs created. 2009, 2010, the number was $127 million in direct investment. That is not indirect or induced investment. Those are hard dollars, and 837 jobs created. In 2010 and 11, there were $157 million in direct investment and 1,048 jobs. So if you take all of those, add them up, divide them by 3, you come up with $116 million as our target for this year and 847 jobs as our target. At the bottom of that page, you see the breakdown. I have not listed specific company names, largely at the request of companies. Private sector commercial construction new at 4.7 million, new construction building permits at 8.8, commercial renovation 19.8, and just so you know, we're seeing a lot of or a significant increase in requests for renovation of existing structures, which this body has asked me about in the past, particularly standing big boxes and getting those into some sort of an adaptive reuse. And then there has been a strong surge in multifamily apartments building permits, and then we have still quite a significant pipeline of projects that we continue to pursue. Utilities, what you see here is, I mentioned to you that we go out and we meet with 75 companies. We've talked with 60 so far this year. We try to provide you with some meaningful feedback, what companies are telling us are issues related to their ability to grow here in the community, create more jobs, and so on. That is simply a review of what we have learned on a scale of 1 to 7, companies ranking water, sewer, natural gas, electric. That does not necessarily mean PwC. That can also be Lumbee or South River, or in some cases it could be Duke Energy, formerly Progress, if companies are buying direct. Telecom, cellular, internet access, and internet speed. And then if you look at the next page, public services, again, this is not necessarily germane just to the city of Fayetteville. This is a county-wide review, but it does give you a little bit of perspective on what companies are saying about services here in the community. Let me move, if I could, to I think what's important to all of you, and that is the additional task that we were asked to take on for this fiscal year, the first of which is the Murchison Road redevelopment plan. I want to tell you that I believe that we have finally come up with something that we hope is satisfactory to the council. We have suggested that we would work to secure purchase agreements and options to purchase real estate in the Jasper Street target area, starting somewhere. Research comparable sites and identify tax values of properties located in the footprint of the Jasper Street Catalyst site. Meet with property owners to negotiate purchase agreements and options. Submit draft purchase agreements to the city manager for review by the real estate department of the city of Fayetteville and the city attorney's office with ultimate approval by the council, and then present city-approved executed purchase agreements to the property owners in that specific area of Jasper Street and Murchison Road. Let me tell you that we have made, I think, some significant progress in that area. We have met so far with one grocer who is very interested in the area. That company has one other store in this community over in the Yadkin Road area. They specifically target economically disadvantaged areas of a community. It's a brand that I think all of us know, and it's something that we're continuing to work with. We've given them volumes of data. They're doing their due diligence, and then it's our hope that they come back and we're able to do something with them. There are a couple of issues related to that. One, the price point of the Pamela Plaza building is far out of reach for them. So our hope is that we can secure enough land to build a freestanding facility in that Jasper Street area and to bring that back as an opportunity for council's consideration. In addition, we have also been in discussion through a third party. We have a local attorney who's assisting us in this area for frontage real estate adjacent to the Suburban Mart, and we hope that we're able to do something in that regard. We've also worked with Sandra Mitchell. Some of you may know Ms. Mitchell. She's very active in the citizens group up there, has been a great help to us, in fact helped us to get the interest of the grocery store. And then we had that meeting at the chamber, and we're able to get some interest from them. Let me move to the Hope 6 Business Park, if I may. Identify, solicit, and retain qualified urban design planning firm to develop a market-based redevelopment plan based on input from adjacent property owners and other interested parties. Conduct market-based, private sector-driven planning exercise to determine the highest and best uses of that target property. And I'm assuming all of you know the piece of real estate I'm talking about. And we found a correlation between this particular piece and the piece at Murchison Road. We found that there is a former home of the first president of Fayetteville State University that is there in that Hope 6 area. We're trying to figure out if that is a piece of real estate worth moving, securing, and putting back into use in the Murchison Road area, or if we need to work around it in that particular site. We would, of course, want to explore funding options, develop final documents for the city review and adoption, and then develop executable strategy for implementation. The Campus for Advanced Sustainability, there is some progress there. I will tell you that what we have suggested our role to be is to continue to support the discovery process currently underway with the existing partners in the Sustainability Campus. Just to remind you, that's about 39 and some change acres adjacent to the PWC campus on Old Wilmington Road at 301. Provide management support as requested and serve as fiscal agent. We have established a checking account. We have money in the bank. And we have participated in a review of proposals to conduct a market analysis to see if the plan in fact has feasibility and to go forward from there. Also, to assist in the firm selected to conduct, we want to make sure that they're being provided the data they need, so we would treat them as a client of economic development, getting them the data that they need, and of course, upon proven viability, play a marketing role as deemed appropriate by the Sustainable Communities Foundation Board to develop to provide the development of the land included in the campus project. And then finally, you had asked that we help promote All-America City. I can tell you that I've been out of town 2 or 3 times since we last met. When I introduced myself as being from Fayetteville, there is no one on the planet who does not know that we won All-America City, because I'm greeted with that often, with a lot of congratulations. But we have co-branded our organization. When you see our logo, you see that logo. And we're very, very proud of that. I wanted to close by sharing with you a recent report. This has nothing to do, by the way, with the work that we're doing with Garner Economics. It just so happens that we watch their rankings for job growth in U.S. metros. I wanted to let you know that we found out last week that Fayetteville MSA, which is Cumberland County and Hoke County, is the only positive job growth community compared to pre-recession numbers in the state of North Carolina. We have that full compilation of data, but what I've provided you here is just an update on those communities that were able to surpass with positive job growth, and that's an accolade to all of you who set policy, who work with economic development, help us to try to recruit folks to the community to invest, to broaden our tax base, and ultimately to create wealth here. It's taken longer than I intended. I'm sorry about that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doug, for a great report.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hyman, do you have something, sir? And we have some questions after that.
Okay.
I had a question pertaining to the Hope 6 Business Park.
Yes, sir.
When can we expect to see a recommendation for the consultant that is being proposed to do the work?
Well, we've talked with 2. One is out of Charlotte. There's a local firm that we want to make sure that is included in that opportunity. We've not yet drafted the requirements that we're looking for in that particular RFP. My hope would be that sometime before the end of this quarter, which would be the 3rd quarter, that we're able to have that on the street, have the RFPs back within 60 days, have that information back to City Council prior to the close of this fiscal year, which would be June 30th.
Mr. Bates?
Peters, when you came on board, we've talked about all our big boxes being empty. We had 4 of them over on the north side.
Yes, sir.
We're down to only having 1 emptied. Keep that back yonder, bro.
Don't you worry about a thing. We talked about it just this morning with that one. The people who own that, we hope we have someone that we can direct that way.
Mr. Chris?
Mr. Peters, I'm looking at this survey, 1st, 2nd quarter, utility service, public services.
Yes, sir.
And you say here there are responses from plant managers to questions. Without the questions, I'm not sure how to interpret the data. Looking at public services, 2nd quarter, 5.33 for police. What does that mean?
We ask plant managers, first of all, we use a software called Synchronist. It's a databasing software. We don't just go out and fill out a paper form, go back and put it in a file. We put all that data into a database so that we can show trends, and we try to show that to you on a regular basis so that you can see, particularly if you look at how we are doing that first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, if there is any steady increase in performance or decrease in performance or perspective. Essentially what we're doing is asking plant managers, 75 companies in the community, to rank on a scale of 1 to 7 their satisfaction with those utilities.
Okay.
Very open-ended question. Some will expand upon why they may rank low or high. Many times they just say, we're going to go with a 5.5, or we'll go with a 6. If we were to get a ranking under a 4, we would want to dive into that question.
Well, I'm concerned here. I kind of figured that's what it was, but I see some downward trends from the first quarter to the second quarter in some areas that to me are hard to understand. How can they be less satisfied with water in the second quarter than they were in the first quarter? We didn't put anything in the water. I mean,
either they have it or they don't, right?
You can't just, I understand.
Well, let me tell you specifically the reason that number dropped is we have one plant in the Cumberland Industrial Center that wanted access to a well, so they had gray water to offset, or so they wouldn't have to pay for public water for a gray water process they have within their plant. We were not able to help them to get that done, so their ability to access water was based on that.
Yeah, like health care over here under public services.
Yes, sir.
Took a significant nosedive.
Well, and that could be because someone had a gripe with their physician. It could be that someone's physician put them on a diet. It could be any number of things. But if it ranks below a certain threshold,
emergency room.
it could be an emergency room.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Peters, this is a great report. I really love to see the changes y'all made, and especially tracking these areas that are of keen interest to the council. So thank you for your effort in that regard. I guess we accept this report. Do we take a vote on this, Mr. Ryman? Just take it for information purposes. Thank you so much, Doug, for being here. We appreciate your time. Okay, now we have the city's strategic plan update, very timely as we prepare for our strategic planning process. So Ms. Rebecca's here to help us go through our second quarter update.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Item 7.2B on your agenda is the presentation of the second quarter strategic plan report. Council, in your agenda packets, you received the full report, which details some of the accomplishments that you and city staff has made during the second quarter. You've also received the publication tonight, the color handout at your dais. I'm conscious of the other items of business this evening. My remarks about each item will be brief, but I will touch on some of the advancements of the action plans. The City of Fayetteville has a strategic planning model that takes council and staff through an annual process of understanding where we are as an organization, where we want to go, and how we can get there. A strategic plan is a living and changing document. The vision statement for our community reflects the City of Fayetteville that we hope to achieve in 15 years with the standard of living and vibrancy that we will achieve through our actions today. What has our organization done that brings us closer to having a vibrant downtown? And how are we planning for beauty by design? Our mission as a local government really identifies for the citizens of Fayetteville our organizational role in pursuing the community's vision. It focuses our efforts on providing quality municipal services that make Fayetteville a better place for all. And providing these services to our community, of course, are approximately 1,500 dedicated employees who serve the community with respect. Council, during the strategic planning sessions, you've determined the path that our organization must follow in order to reach the community's vision. The path defines 6 goals that we hope to achieve in 5 years. They include growing our tax base and becoming a more efficient city government, and ensuring that we take pride that Fayetteville is a great place to live with safe neighborhoods and fun things to do. From these goals, Council, you've developed a work plan for this fiscal year with 27 targets for action. And it is these items that your report tonight focuses on. Staff is working to develop a potential bond referendum that will sustain previous park investments and enhance the quality of life for current citizens and future generations. Staff is preparing the proposal for approval from the Joint Recreation Advisory Commission. Staff also finalized the financial plan and tax rate. The police substations project will analyze the feasibility of adding police stations in strategic locations throughout the city. During the second quarter, the study was completed and staff prepared for the council update on January 3rd. Fast improvements for evening service supports the goal of becoming a more efficient and effective city government. FAST is working to implement the revisions in the operations plan that extend the evening service on several routes and will extend Route 9 to the Cape Fear Valley North Pavilion. They are also working with the Fayetteville Advisory Committee on Transit for public outreach and feedback. The building demolition program will support the goal of a more attractive city by prioritizing the use of building demolition funds. During the second quarter, staff reviewed the current bidding process for demolition contracts and made the necessary changes to meet legal requirements and expedite the process. The city partners, of course, with the Fayetteville-Cumberland County Chamber of Commerce for economic development activities. Council, we just heard the quarterly report from the Chamber, and I thank them for being here this evening to update Council on the progress made toward those work items identified in the economic development contract. The sign ordinance target for action focuses on developing a modernized sign ordinance that is consistent with the UDO. During the second quarter, information on vehicle signs was discussed with the stakeholders, and a schedule of advisory focus groups that include the Chamber of Commerce, Board of Realtors, sign contractors, and design professionals will be considered by the Planning Commission for action in the third quarter. The street lighting ordinance project followed the implementation of an ordinance designed to establish uniformity for the location of lights as well as how the lights are paid for. In December, Progress Energy began billing customers for residential streetlights and collaborated with the City Corporate Communications Division in a communications plan. Engineering and infrastructure staff, they generated and distributed to all lighting providers a survey letter with instructions to provide a 90-day implementation plan for areas that do not meet the lighting standards. Next quarter, a summary report of findings will be compiled. Council, you've requested a comprehensive compensation plan for all departments. You recognize that hiring and retaining quality staff is a critical aspect of providing excellent service for our citizens. By the end of the second quarter, the consultant completed a job analysis and 10 public sector benchmark organizations were identified and approved by Council. The market survey was distributed and the results were obtained. A preliminary report and updated job descriptions were reviewed, and that work continues in the third quarter. Additionally, we are planning to provide an update to Council during the February work session. Solid Waste Contracting for Services seeks to research and explore opportunities for outsourcing city services. Staff received proposals for contracting garbage collection for 1,500 households in October and prepared for an update to City Council January 3rd. Fayetteville Beautiful is a committee of concerned citizens dedicated to encouraging others to take greater responsibility for improving their environment. Fayetteville Beautiful has contributed to litter reduction, waste reduction, and beautification throughout the city and receives weekly requests for volunteer support to help with cleanup and beautification projects. Staff is assisting with planning for the upcoming citywide spring cleanup. Council, we'll now move on to your management agenda. These items are generally projects that are already underway or that represent the completion of a work plan. Bragg Boulevard Corridor Development focuses on the redevelopment of this area, which is essential to Fayetteville's transportation infrastructure, especially as we construct I-295. A funding opportunity from the Office of Economic Adjustment was identified and pursued by the Fort Bragg Regional Alliance. The funding was approved for $200,000 with the city providing a 25% match. Staff has developed an RFP in cooperation with the Alliance to solicit firms to complete the Bragg Boulevard Corridor Plan. Under the draft interlocal agreement, the Alliance will issue the RFP, and the city will manage the project once a consultant is selected. And after 2 years of hard work, community collaboration, and reaching out to the airlines, the Fayetteville Regional Airport is being rewarded for its perseverance with a U.S. Airways round-trip direct flight to Washington, D.C. Service should begin March 25th. This flight will help meet the growing demand established by military expansion and related businesses. That's a good job. The Reclaiming Neighborhoods Project is a component of the police department's community wellness program that takes a holistic approach to the problems in specific neighborhoods. The police department continued to collaborate with key departments and executed concentrated operations in the Bonnie Doon area. The Community Day took place October 8th with an estimated 400 in attendance. And the police department is also preparing a final report on the Bonnie Doon area and the selection of the next neighborhood. The Hope 6 Business Park Development Project will address the economic development activities in the Hope 6 area. Of the 40 parcels identified, the city has acquired 21 at the end of the second quarter, and the work continues on the land acquisition. As part of the economic development contract with the city, the Chamber will continue to advance the Hope 6 Business Park Development Plan. A citywide comprehensive communication strategy outlines specific actions for engaging internal and external stakeholders. During the second quarter, the city continued to collaborate with the Emergency Management Coordinator for improvements in the communication aspects of our emergency operation plan. We are also reviewing other municipal communication administrative policies and will work to develop that policy for the city of Fayetteville. The team continues to focus on the All-America City marketing campaign. Highlights for the second quarter include the placement of the billboards and signs in the community and on I-95, which was completed in time for the holiday travel and traffic. The banner, which thanks soldiers for their service to All-America City, was installed at Green Ramp on Fort Bragg, and the completion and distribution of the All-America City Up and Coming edition. We also worked to finalize the calendar year 2011 annual report, which is available tonight. Council, you received the first copies of this report on your dais this evening, and it's literally hot off the press. And I'd like to recognize the corporate communication staff, Jennifer Lowe, Nathan Walls, and Kenneth Maynor, for their ambition, their drive, and their dedication. This report was designed, written, and produced completely in-house. I believe that you'll find the report to boldly tell the story, the city's story, of 2011, which I think will be a banner year for the organization. Mr. Ryman will be presenting this report to you and the community during the February 13th council meeting. The Limited English Proficiency Project seeks to develop an overarching citywide policy that identifies steps to mitigate language barriers in providing service to our citizens. At the end of the second quarter, staff incorporated the LEP policy into the city's award-winning supervisory operational skills class. We also began the process of identifying the bilingual city employees to develop a list that will be used for language assistance. In the third quarter, we will work to develop and formalize training for all employees. The Old Days Inn site development seeks to develop a land use plan for residential housing. By the end of the first quarter, the RFP was issued and advertised, but there was no response. The team plans to reissue another RFP in the third quarter. This year, staff will concentrate on land assembly and design for the multimodal center. Staff has worked to facilitate the design process with meetings that began in October, and the land assembly efforts continue. The Prince Charles Hotel is a historic landmark located in the downtown area. Fortunately, the conditions were such that this building was declared dangerous and ordered vacated last October. To date, there's only been partial compliance and a new violation and hearing order served. Staff will continue enforcement action to persuade the property owner to achieve full code compliance. Council, there are 6 management in progress items that were identified as key projects this year. Currently, our community has 2 primary public safety answering points. One's managed by the county and the other the city. This project seeks to follow an effort to consolidate those operations. The report before you tonight details the significant accomplishments made thus far. Currently, the coordination efforts are focused on Phase 2, which is merging both CADs into one. The work efforts of the prop item relate to City Council's and staff's desire to identify and better manage any negative impacts of residential rental property citywide. This quarter, staff met with counterparts in Charlotte to review their program and revised our prop program to the Rental Action Management Program, or RAMP, so that the program is compliant with the parameters set within the North Carolina state law. Staff revised the cost analysis to reflect the additional personnel and equipment needed for RAMP. Staff also conducted a number of stakeholder meetings to explain RAMP and solicit feedback, and updated the council in November. We held the public hearings in December and will continue to move this project forward in the third quarter. On July 4, 2011, the state celebrated with our community the opening of a beautiful living park. The North Carolina Veterans Park has changed the face of Fayetteville's downtown and brought together the community in celebration. The features in the park are designed to honor veterans of all military branches, telling the story of a veteran's journey before, during, and after service. This quarter, the installation of the remaining exhibits, the stream relocation, and the water garden features were completed. Staff also obtained the NC dog tag display from ASOM for the relocation into the visitor center. And they're also prepared for and supported the first annual Veterans Day events. And the park continues to be celebrated as a huge success and a tribute to those that are honored. Just a few more brief updates to share. The Youth Council seeks to teach young people how government works and engage them in civic leadership. After the Human Resource Commission's update to Council, the Commission met with City Council liaisons. The Human Relations Department will now coordinate with the Parks and Recreation to develop a City Youth Council in conjunction with the new Youth Development Program. The city gained ownership of the Festival Park Plaza and is improving the occupancy rate. The City Manager's Office will continue to monitor and assess the climate for future use of the building. The city will work with the Chamber of Commerce to support the redevelopment of the Murchison Road corridor and continues its work efforts in Catalyst Site in partnership, Catalyst Site number 2 in partnership with Fayetteville State University. The body of work represented in the strategic plan report is directly related to this organization's commitment to continuous planning, evaluation, and reporting. Council, in the last few years, we've honed and developed a number of processes to keep our community moving forward that require discipline and long-term planning. And as this slide illustrates, the cycle begins and ends in strategic planning. Strategic planning is a critical component of a larger system of annual planning for our organization. The strategic planning process feeds into the budget process, and it provides direction. It prioritizes services and infrastructure needs. The cycle of continuous planning and evaluation allows our organization to respond to the changing environments. In 2 weeks, Council, you'll be participating in the next strategic plan retreat. That date is scheduled for Friday, February 3rd, and Saturday, February 4th. Council, I thank you for the opportunity to share with you, the citizens that are still here in the chamber and those watching from home, the progress we've made thus far. I would also like to recognize and thank the project liaisons for their work and continued support. And finally, I'd like the audience to know that this report and the strategic plan are located on the website listed on the screen. And with that, Council, I would ask that you receive this report, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have or direct them to your project liaisons who are also here this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Great report, Ms. Applewhite.
Thank you. Rebecca, or maybe Mr. Iman, the Old Days Insight, it talked about the we didn't have anybody that responded to the RFP, and it's going to be reissued. How is that posted or put out there? Because there may be developers in other cities that may be willing to come in to work that site. How does that work? Or was that just advertised locally, or how does that?
No, we cast a very broad net with that RFP. We listed it on the Dodge report, which goes nationwide. In fact,
that's the
Dodge report is, that's a potential projects list, if you will. But we also reached out and contacted specific developers throughout North Carolina. and used our contacts to reach other contacts. What we think is that the type of housing that we envisioned is no longer really highly sought after, and is more difficult to be for banking purposes, difficult to get a loan for. We called for condominiums, and the condominium market, when the plan was put together in 2008, was thriving, but since then the market's been saturated.
Not so much, right.
Yeah, and so it's difficult. So we're looking at going back and changing possibly to townhomes or even apartments, but we'd like to have owner occupied, so possibly townhomes. We're not certain yet, but those are the type things we're looking at in the upcoming RFP.
So if there was a developer right now that was in another state that was interested in coming to Fayetteville, what would they do now, or do they have to wait?
Right now, we don't have an active RFP on the streets. Certainly, I guess if the council is interested, we can negotiate a deal for that property, though. It is the city's property. We could do a development agreement, and that's the beauty of the city ownership, is that we can control how the property will be developed and how it will be maintained into the future, to ensure that it is not just a nice project when it's constructed and 5 years down the road it's allowed to deteriorate. Those are the kind of things that we can write into a development agreement.
Because I believe we used the term something like eyes on the park when we were.
That's correct. That's one of the big benefits, is having people living there, puts eyes on the park, built-in customers, if you will. And it's one of the only sites remaining in this area, let's say the 2 or 3 square mile area, that is suitable for building residential property. There's just not large parcels available for residential development.
That's good. Thank you.
Mr. Crisp.
I want to throw this out there. I spoke with a business leader today, and I think a better idea than residents there is to put a curio shop there for visitors coming to the North Carolina State Veteran Park and the Airborne Museum, and with a place to get some sandwiches other than Subway. I think that would be an excellent potential location. That's all I want to say.
That was discussed, and that's directly opposite of what the discussion was, that we want to attract visitors to the Veterans Park to come downtown, spend some money in our local shops.
Well, that is downtown too, okay?
Yeah, but if you create that there, they won't go any further. That's the concern.
Mr. Arp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Rebecca. That was a great report, and thank you to all the members of the staff who put it together. That's pretty slick, and it was a great job. Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we accept the report as provided with the guidance to the city manager of the areas of interest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Arp. Is there a second to the motion? Thank you, Mr. Massey. Any discussion on that motion? May I ask for your vote, please? That's unanimous. Thank you, ma'am. We'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
You're off the hook again.
Okay, we'll move now to item 7.3, which concerns several uninhabitable structures and demolition recommendations. Mr. Swanson, thanks for coming, sir.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, before you this evening is a staff request for adoption of demolition ordinances for 6 buildings determined to be dangerous or blight. Staff has complied with all statutory requirements in determining that these buildings are dangerous or blight. All statutory process of service requirements relating to the issuance of notices has been met. Properties were either ineligible or failed to apply for the city's acquisition demolition program. A letter advising that their buildings would be presented to City Council for approval of a demolition ordinance was mailed to each of the property owners. First property that we have is 865 Amy Street. And this is located off of Murchison Road. It's between Greensboro Street and Nicky Avenue. This one is a blighted building. It's not historic property, vacant house in the residential area. The utilities were disconnected as of December 2002. In the last 2 years, we've had 2 calls for 911 service and 2 code violations. There's no city assessments, no outstanding taxes, And demolition cost is $1,340. And there's photographs that we have of the front of the structure. It's along the side. This is the rear. If you notice, all the windows have been boarded up and not painted the contrasting colors required by code. The next property is 1780 Cardinal Circle. This is located in East Fayetteville. It's off of North Plymouth Street, and it's in between Clinton Road and Highway 24.
Bart,
We need to do them separately.
Before you go forward, I just wanted to ask one question. I think that Mr. Iman had spoke about that some time ago. I think this is what, 8-9 years of the Amy Street, and when we start talking about what we're doing, trying to improve different areas throughout our city, especially within the Merchant Road corridor, we have a house that's boarded up for 8 years, 9 years, and how can we get past that? I mean, I think we discussed, I know some emails had gone out, but just to say it again, I would like to hear, how do we get past the 8-9 years of boarded up homes? If the inspections goes by, you know.
well, it would be a requirement. The city has ordinances that we're responsible for, and the ordinance currently does not provide for any length of time. So if we wanted to shorten that or look at our current policy as it relates to boarding up houses, we should probably put something on one of the work session agendas and ask staff to look into that.
That's where we headed. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
They're our ordinances.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
1780 Cardinal Circle. This is a dangerous building. It's not historic. It's a vacant house in the residential area. The utilities were cut off as of April 2005. In the last 2 years, we've had 6 calls for a 9/11 service, no code violations the last 24 months. There's no outstanding city assessments, no outstanding taxes. The demolition cost in this property is $960. At this property here, I'll also note that there's been 2 building permits that were taken out. First one was in September of 2010. That was to repair the structure, and there was no work done at the building, and the permit expired. And then the permit was renewed again on April 14th of 2011, and that permit's expired also. And this right here is the front of the structure, along the sides. You can see this, is this the back end, Frank? Or is that on the sides? And this right here's the front? Yes. And essentially, this is the way this property's been sitting for several years. And then this is the inside. So what's happened since 2010 is we've been hearing from the property owner that their desire was to repair it, but nothing's happened out there, and there really hasn't been any response from them. The next property is 205 Deep Creek Road. And this is located in East Fayetteville. It's off of Person Street between Coburn and Haywood Street. It's a blighted building, not historic. It's a vacant house. Utilities were disconnected in September 2008. The last 2 years, we've had 7 calls for 9/11 service and 2 code violations. We do have a city assessment of $196.55, and this is for cleaning and securing the building. No outstanding taxes. Not eligible for acquisition demolition program, and our low bid on demolition was $1,300. That the walkway and the porch, they're completely rotted. This is along the side of the house. This is the other side. This is in the rear. The next property is 2683 El Dorado Road. and that's located, it's in Holly Park. It's located between Coronado Parkway and Enterprise Avenue. This building is determined to be dangerous. It's not historic, vacant, residential zone. Utilities were disconnected in February 2008. We haven't had any 911 calls for service, but we've had 3 code violations in the last 2 years. There's no city assessments, no outstanding taxes. The demolition cost on this property is $679. Now, this property, the best we can determine that there was extensive fire damage over 5 years, between 5 and 10 years. Really can't find a report for it, and we're just going on historical information from our staff. And apparently it was taken down to the foundation, and they started to rebuild it, but they didn't obtain any building permits. Next property, 402 South Plymouth Street. This is in East Fayetteville. It's off of Cedar Creek Road between Blackwell Street, Sapona Road. It's blighted property, not historic. It's vacant house residential zone. Utilities were disconnected in January 2011. Then there were no calls for a 911 service and no code violations the last 2 years. No city assessments, no outstanding taxes. It's not eligible for acquisition demolition program, and the low bid for demolition was $1,460. And this one's not properly secured, right, Frank?
Secured as of Friday afternoon. No, not all of it. They're right there, unsecured right there.
Yeah, this is the carport area. The last property is 1431 Roan Street. It's located in East Fayetteville. It's off Deep Creek Road. This is a blighted building, not historic, vacant house residential zone. We have no records of utilities. We can't determine when they were cut off. No calls for 911 service. We've had 1 code violation the last 2 years. We do have a city assessment of $723.16. This was for lot cleaning and securing of the building. And this property has outstanding taxes of $14,653.50. Wasn't eligible for the acquisition demolition program. It's apparently our title search goes back to unknown heirs. Demolition cost is $1,379.
$14,000.
We have some extensive damage for this carport area. And this shed is also part of the demolition. And that concludes our presentation, and we're available for any questions.
Okay, sir. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Applewhite?
I do have a question maybe for the city attorney or Mr. Iman. I think I've asked this before and I forgot. So, these properties here are in bad shape, but some of the houses that we see, possibly with some TLC, that they could be rehabbed, and when we're looking for people that need homes or organizations like Operation Inasmuch who go in and build and fix. If we're spending $1,500 to $2,000 to knock them down, is there a way that these properties, prior to being completely demolished, can be presented to a entity and say, hey, could you rehab this? And the city will give you, perhaps the money that we would pay to knock it down to help them to refurbish for someone that doesn't have a home.
We don't own them.
Huh?
We don't own them.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's a way
I hear you.
to do that.
Ms. Applewhite,
Program.
I vaguely remember that question, and I don't recall the question. I know that we do have some CHODOs, which are housing organizations. Most of the ones that I think the city deals with, and if Mr. Sharp is still here, he could speak to it as well. They tend to like to build new construction. We do have, I think, one or two organizations that try to acquire properties, but he may be able to speak more specifically to their criteria and those type of things, and or what staff does to try to reach out to them about those properties.
But perhaps, Mr. Sharp, you don't have to do that tonight, but if there is a way, if we could, it's just a thought. Sometimes if you cut back the brush and you scrape off the paint, if the roof is good and the plumbing might be okay and the electrical, maybe somebody could salvage a home to put someone else in. So if that's possible, I'd like to know about that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? How about a motion? Mr. Bates?
Motion to approve.
Okay, to adopt the ordinance and demolish the structures?
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a second to Mr. Bates' motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Christ. Any discussion on the motion? May I ask for your vote, please? That is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Thanks for your presentation tonight. I think that concludes our business. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.